All right, good evening and welcome to the meeting of the Historic Preservation Commission. We're going to call the meeting to order. First up is the roll call. Kayla?
Here.
Fred?
Here.
Nora?
Here.
Kyle?
Here.
Dusty?
Here.
Melissa?
Here.
And I am Patrick. Everybody's here. The agenda, any changes to the agenda? I know the first report that is blank should read financial report. And we have a third report, MHPN notes.
Yeah, let's get all these housekeeping things taken care of.
Yeah.
The first blank underneath C is the approval of minutes. Sorry that one didn't come through. The next blank underneath E is financial report. There's an addition underneath E, number 3, which is MHPN notes that I neglected to add. Thank you, Kyle, for reminding me and for typing those up. One other suggestion that I have, if people are not opposed, would be we have a lot of stuff on here tonight, so maybe after the minutes, if we could move the commissioner review, appointment review up to follow directly after the approval of minutes. And then the applicant could stay for the rest of the time if he wishes, but then it doesn't put him in a position where he has to wait until towards the end of the meeting.
Any objections?
Do we need to make a motion for that?
Yes.
Yes.
I make a motion on microphone this time that we move the appointment forward in the agenda. I'll second.
All right. Any other changes? Yes, that's why I'm asking to see if there's any other changes before we vote on the, yep.
Nope, not that I have.
Okay. And do we have a motion?
Motion is made, second was made, just need the vote for it now. You could probably.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Just
All
a
right,
voice
sorry.
vote would be fine. Nope,
Yeah.
completely okay.
Sorry, Pam, I was thinking of something else. All right, all in favor of moving the appointment? Just aye, voice vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? All right. And then we need a motion to adopt the agenda as amended.
So moved.
And seconded.
Okay. So we're going to... All right. So Dan, if you'd like to...
We'll do the minutes first, I
Oh, the
think, and then
minutes.
we'll,
Oh, yep.
then we'll
Sorry.
slide into
Thank you.
the next part. Sorry to jump in there.
Yeah, go ahead. All right. Minutes from last meeting.
I would like to note that my name is spelled D-U-S-T-I, and it is with a Y, I think, through the report.
In F3, it says the Association of Immigration Studies. It should be Gravestone Studies.
Nice, thank you.
I'd like to clean up a little bit on our two coordinators report, the little bit that got something I said on that. About the history furnishing group that met together. And if we could add, let's see, let me find where it's reading at. Here we go. It was the Grand Rapids Kalamazoo Roundtable and the Gun Lake Tribe. If it could be added after that Gun Lake Tribe, the location at the Luella Collins Center in Shelbyville, Michigan.
Fred, did you say that during the meeting? Are you wanting to retroactively?
I think it makes more sense retroactively putting in, but,
Can't do that for minutes.
okay.
So,
I don't think I said exactly what's recorded here, but,
okay. I just can't add in something that you didn't say. But we could say, I mean, if you said at the tribal campus, or I can go back and listen to it as well to look at it.
but just the location of
Yep.
it would add a lot more to the report.
Yep, I got you. I'll go back and listen.
And then let's identify Crystal Burnett, that she's an archivist at the, it sounds like the Larry Bell, the foundation was here by that, it was to meet people, Larry Bell Foundation Library. I met Crystal Burnett, who's the archivist at the Larry Bell Foundation Lab, and Megan Daniels, who's an archivist at the Grand Rapids Public Museum. Just a few clarifications on that.
Dusty, correct me if I am wrong, but I had written down that you had added a cemeteries report to E4. Did you have one last month?
That was like 5 years ago. I think I may have sent something out, but it was very general, if so.
Okay, anything else? Motion to adopt the minutes as amended.
So moved.
And a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Okay, moving on.
Have to vote on it.
Oh, we have to vote.
Yeah, you can just do a voice vote for that too.
Okay. All in favor of the minutes as amended?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Now on to the commissioner appointment.
Yep. So I trust that you all had time to review the materials that were submitted for Dan, or that Dan submitted to us. Dan, if you just want to introduce yourself kind of briefly, and then I'll leave it up to the commission to ask any questions and conduct the interview, if you will, following that. So
Yeah.
feel free.
Hi, my name is Dan Kasner. I was the chair of the HTC for, I think, at least 3 years, and I termed off of that, and super excited to maybe join this board. I'm a local small business owner, lived in historic houses, restored historic buildings, and just intensely excited about history, so.
Sweet, thank you. Any questions from you guys?
Are you familiar with some of the projects that we've gotten involved in recently? Have you seen anything like?
No, honestly, I was kind of just, I don't want to say coasting along at the HDC, but we hadn't got new members in so long. I really, my term abruptly ended as we had a flood of new applicants. And you know, I've always been interested in this, I don't want to say sister board, or, you know, it feels like you guys set the policy and then the HDC, you know, kind of enforces it in some roundabout way. And so, yeah, no, I was just interested in continuing on. So no, I'm not familiar with your projects right now.
You've got some shoes to fill, and no problem though, because they're size 8, my shoes are, so.
Not to interject, but what's the biggest project you're working on right now that I should know about?
So some of the biggest stuff we have to do is administering the O'Connor Fund and the grants that go along with that. We're the stewards of that money, and that's a very important part of what we do. Dusty, I don't know if you want to talk about your work with the grave committee.
So one of our projects right now that I'm heading up is working on some documentation for our local cemeteries, as far as the goal is to create a sort of pocket guide to interpret what you're looking at.
Oh.
Yeah, so you will find, if you do decide to join us, that I'm a little focused a lot on cemeteries. But yeah, that's what we're doing, and kind of in conjunction with that, Melissa has a similar type of project.
We are currently working on creating some digital tours of different areas in Kalamazoo, so kind of reviving a little bit the hidden Kalamazoo tours that were ran in person, kind of turning those into more of a virtual space, and then working with Dusty on different cemeteries. We're going to be doing a digital walking tour of Mountain Home Cemetery and kind of the markers that are in that cemetery.
Yeah. That all sounds super fun. One thing coming from the board that I'm on, and obviously I wouldn't be jumping on this out of the gate, but I would love to talk about just more education to the public about like what the historic commissions do in general and why it's a net good for the citizens. Because one thing that always came up is it always felt like it was more of a burden for homeowners than a net positive. And so, like, if I ended up on the board, I would love to talk to y'all about fostering that and, maybe having more public outreach in general for both commissions. So.
I'm going to point at Nora and Fred. They did actually work with the communications about that to the public, because clearly we do want that as well. We know that a lot of our buildings could use some help. So they did, I believe it was actually mailed out too, right? You had that letter that you guys are working on? Can you talk into microphone? I can barely hear you.
Prepared to be mailed out, the letter and stuff's all ready to go, but that's kind of stalled.
We did have Sharon speak at our awards ceremony, which was part of our education, and we've had like authors before. But yeah, I like your idea, and I have thought sometimes about like presenting to the various neighborhood associations to get more of those relationships built. But yeah, it's a good passion to bring to you.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I always thought that the neighborhood association meetings, like having a representative there to basically, for letting the people in the neighborhood grill them about questions. So like, it's not just, we don't want you to build a shoddy porch, but here are the reasons why it's a good reason that, some lords can't come in and strip out the architectural interest of a building and replace it with vinyl and stuff along those lines.
I know that the Historic District Commission has some requirements for people to be on it as far as their background. Where were you? I know it's for some of the people on the commission. Am I right there? Yeah.
Just one person needs to be, one of the seats of that commission needs to be an architect with
okay.
some qualifications, and everyone that's on the HDC must live within the city of Kalamazoo.
Oh, okay.
Whereas a majority of the members of this board must live in the city of Kalamazoo.
Okay.
Otherwise, the requirements for this board are simply that you have an interest in history or an interest in historic preservation.
Yeah. Okay. I thought it was more than that. So I was going to ask if you had that kind of, if you were an architect or something like that.
No, I wish I was.
Or have had a background in that.
I feel like the biggest hands-on is I own a historic building on Frank Street on the north side, and my wife and I bought that in 2012, and it was pretty much condemned when we started, and we've brought it back and learned a ton along the way of, old buildings and what that means, and had some, not dead ends, but like have extremely learning project. So not an architect, but have gotten my hands dirty with preservation.
There are some of us on this commission in similar roles or have had similar experiences. So, do we have any other questions?
No question. I think and I'm trying to log in right now to make sure that I can double check it. Fred, you brought up shoes to fill. I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page regarding what shoes need to be filled. You and Melissa both have extensions on your terms right now that go till, and that's what I'm trying to figure out exactly. I want to say they're 6-month extensions. I think they were filed for September. I'm not the best with maths or months. I do know, however, and I think, Nora, you sent out the email, and you can talk more about this later, but you're going to be terming off anyway, so the smoothest way for me to do it, and we can talk, Nora and Fred, we can talk later, but the smoothest way would be to have Dan come in and fill your role. Just to be transparent, that's the smoothest for me. That does not mean that either of you, like if you guys, we can talk. And if you want to be done with your extension, we can, but I just want everyone to know that that would be the way that I'm going to facilitate this moving forward.
Would that put us in a situation where he would be filling the remainder of Nora's term rather than on a fresh 3-year cycle?
Yes, I think so. Do you envision issues with that?
I don't know if, I don't want to shoot ourselves in the foot by putting somebody in a position where they only have like 1.5 years left on a term.
You get to have 2 full terms, I think, and then the partial, so.
Okay, so that's not an issue.
No, and we also solved the issue previously. We can discuss this at a later time when we need to look at like bylaw stuff, which I know I dropped the ball on before, but we need to make sure that we write a provision into our bylaws that also allows for people to stay on until their replacement is found, because that is the state of the bylaws right now with the HDC, and it just makes the entire situation a lot less stressful if terms are ending.
So to clarify, were you saying we need to alter our bylaws? And if so, how do we do that?
We'll address that at another meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
All right, so I guess we'll figure out who's going where. All right, well, thank you. I think we've, in the past, allowed you to stay, or you can go either way, and we'll vote, and Luis will fill you in.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, I'd be excited to be on the board, and maybe not to make it awkward, maybe I will leave, just so you guys feel comfortable to talk through it. But yeah, thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah, thanks for coming down, Dan. Yeah. Appreciate you.
Thank
And
you.
You can still watch us on TV if you want to.
Must-see viewing.
Did not mean to muddy the waters with those distinctions. I just wanted folks to know that was going to be my path forward, as we are in kind of an interesting situation right now with our roster. So, not to further muddy the waters, we know that so Fred and Melissa, you guys are technically on until 9/30 of this year. We know that these votes aren't the super duper most fun to make, right? Because they're rather wordy, but the vote being posed in the affirmative, would be someone making a motion to recommend the appointment of Dan Kasner to the Historic Preservation Commission, recommending that, I don't want to make it sound stupid, recommending to the City Commission Dan Kasner's appointment to the Historic Preservation Commission. More or less. Wordy, I know.
We need someone to make a motion, unless there's some discussion to be had.
I was hoping I could just say so moved.
I think that that's fine.
Okay, perfect.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All right. Do we a roll call vote or a voice vote?
You can do roll call for this one.
Okay. Kayla?
Yes.
Fred?
Yes.
Nora?
Yes.
Kyle?
Yes.
Dusty?
Yes.
Melissa?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well.
That wasn't awkward at all. Dan could have stayed. No, I'll let him know, and then the procedure will be I need to write a memo then to get on to the next city commission meeting where they will review it, and then hopefully if everything times out right, we can have him be formally appointed to this board by the August meeting. So, sweet, sounds good.
Wonderful. All right. Do we have public comments? Pam would.
I'll leave all of it for the O'Connor Fund report period, but I did want to let you know that I have some new information from the Community Foundation as of yesterday afternoon that I will add at that time. Okay?
Okay. Anything else? All right. On to the reports. Financial report.
My favorite report. If there's anything of note that folks want to look at, please let me know. I think with what Pam's going to be bringing up later too during her stuff, this is probably going to start to look a little bit different in the future. If we, I don't want to spoil your stuff, Pam, but if we don't have such a reliance, right, on having this placeholder fund, if you will, of having the $24,000, I think as a placeholder in essence, these will start to look different in the future, and I think they will, and hopefully that adds a little bit of clarity to the reports. If anyone has any questions about any of the expenditures at this time, please let me know.
I think we can move on to the 106 report.
Sweet. I need to change the date at the top to say 2026 I'll review, so I apologize for that error. And I need to get this sent over to SHPO as well. Just as a reminder, and maybe for, I think everyone's been on this board to know what they are, right? We have a programmatic agreement with the state of Michigan, SHPO's office, among some other people. It's a long agreement that says that certain funds that go through the 106 review, for this one is specifically stuff that has to do with HUD, I think is the easiest way to say it, can be reviewed by me. It doesn't need to go up to the SHPO's office for that review. I provide a list of the reviews to be done, and this is the kind of list of reviews for the first 2 quarters. I was telling Pam before we started the meeting, we actually have almost the same volume as last year. So last year, underneath properties that were not historic, I had 62 reviews up to this point, so that's down 1 from this year, right? We have 1 more this year. The difference from last year to this year was that last year for the potentially historic properties, I only had 8 reviews through the 3rd of July. I put this together around the same time. This year I had 23, so that's almost an increase of 3 times in the potentially historic reviews, which is good, right? It shows that people are going to go do the work in areas. I think you'll notice Edison being a really big neighborhood that has a lot of potentially historic properties in it. It's good that they're going into those areas to do the work, and I'm very pleased to see that. Also very pleased to see that when I'm asking for additional information, especially from Community Homeworks, they're getting back to me very quickly. So kudos to Drew Duncan for getting back to me on that stuff so quick. He just started working over there not too long ago in the construction department. I don't know what it is technically called, but that's a really good relationship to make sure that when I'm asking for stuff, the comments are getting back to me. Happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, so Edison's not a local historic district, but they still have to come to you since they're potential, or how does that dynamic work? Because what if they don't reply and then we can't enforce anything?
You're asking the good questions, man. These are questions. So, if you guys recall, we'll jump into the past a little bit. You know, when Sharon was still here, she got Kramer Design Group to put together the reconnaissance level survey of the Edison neighborhood. So about 3,000 properties were surveyed, and they came back with wide swaths of that neighborhood as being National Register eligible. When we're looking at, for all intents and purposes, in my opinion, when you're looking at National Register stuff, in a lot of scenarios, eligibility pretty much means the same thing as being listed. Big asterisk there. Don't come after me for saying that, but when 106 kicks in, right, if things are eligible, that necessitates the 106 review process to happen. So there are really big portions of that neighborhood that no, they're not National Register listed and they are not in the local historic district, but they are using federal funds. So all these HUD funds, they're CDBG, Community Development Block Grant funds. Those funds won't get released until the reviews are complete. So that's kind of the incentivization to say, hey, we're going to return we're going to answer the comments that Historic is asking for this work. To further clarify, I would say that there are areas where you can get overlap, right? So where federal funds are being spent, 106 reviews necessitated, but they're also in a local historic district. There's a couple of properties on this list, 622 Locust and something in the 700 block of Davis. I can't remember it off the top of my head, and I don't need to look. Where there was not only 106 review, but there was also local historic district review then. Very simple projects, roofing projects, but that just makes another layer then of the review. Hopefully that answered your question.
Okay, any other questions on 106 reports?
Just out of curiosity, I noticed the air conditioner was projects were potential adverse effect. Is that just the location of the condensers outside, or?
Asking a lot of the great questions. I think that, and this is going to come up maybe again later, scope of work needs to be provided. So usually the first time that I was getting these, if people just say air conditioner, then I have no clue what's going on, so I have to know what's happening. Just saying that you're going to be adding an air conditioner to the property is not sufficient information for me to conduct a review. When I don't have that level of information, that's when I'll say potential adverse effect until I can actually get that information. I say that because if you're putting in like and I always get the word wrong, compressor, condenser, whatever it is, if you're putting in a big one that's just not a window unit, you're probably going to have to puncture holes through the envelope of the building and somewhere to be able to vent it. I want to know where those are going. I want to know if you're going to be having any ground disturbance to pour a slab to set that on outside. All information that needs to be provided in one way or another.
Okay. MHPN notes.
I'll let Kyle talk about these if he wants to. I just added these. I apologize to everyone. Just a report. Kyle did a great job of typing up just general notes from the MHPN conference. So I'll let you take it from there.
Oh, I don't think anyone has read them yet, so there probably aren't any questions. Have fun, guys. There was a few instances where I tried to, like, there was mention of Professor Evan, or Dr., I don't know, Kutzler's website about the cemetery, so I looked that up and added it. That wasn't like part of the presentation, but just for those outside resources when I could easily find them. But yeah, if you weren't there or you weren't in those sessions, enjoy.
Okay. Moving on, the O'Connor Fund report under discussion and action items. So, yep.
It was a big month. I still can't believe we got as much, all of that done in, what, 3.5 hours last week?
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing. I don't know when during this part of the meeting you want to go to the proposed motions, but there were a couple of things that I wanted to add. The first one was a note that I got from the Community Foundation yesterday. My report for item 1 that says no longer necessary, so I had X'd it out, was the O'Connor Fund split. The O'Connor Fund has not been split. It's been changed in terms of its qualification at the Community Foundation. It has gone from a field of interest fund, it's gone from a nonprofit fund to a field of interest fund. And the board had to use its variance power to make that change, which will make Luis's job so much easier, our budgeting so much easier. What that essentially means is that if you all have a project that you need money for, Luis is going to ask for it, and it's going to go into the bank at the city. If we make a grant, the money's going to go to the grantee. It doesn't have to go through. And in terms of timing, I'm going to quote our philanthropic advisor, Carla Fernandez Soto. She said yesterday, I checked in with our fund management team, and they've informed me that by next Monday, assets should be reflected appropriately in the new field of interest fund. That means that next week you can begin making grants from that fund. And Luis, I will follow up early next week with any new instructions for submitting grants as the advisory committee to the new fund. So it is essentially done. And I couldn't be happier. I also just wanted to ask, as long as I'm here, did you have any questions at all about the decisions that the grant-making subcommittee made last week in terms of elevator eligibility? What else did we have? The definition of rehabilitation projects that are allowed to include elevators, grant rubric scoring. I think that was it. Did you have any questions on any of that? And you can ask it later if it comes to you, but otherwise I'll sit down until you may need me again.
So are we still going to have the 2 different buckets of O1 and O2, or no?
Yes, correct.
Okay,
The
gotcha.
only other thing that'll stay the same, I think the large benefit of this is like, we get to pay out our charitable giving directly to the person, which makes it so it doesn't need to funnel through. I think that we'll need to funnel through the city, right? I don't know if people recall, or perhaps you partitioned off parts of your brain to block out purposefully secondhand trauma from me of these things. But I think that when we're looking to be able to give in a nimble manner, is the way that I'll put it, right? If we need to be able to make these gifts quickly, this really helps us a lot to be able to say, hey, we can give the money, we can't. The Community Foundation will be able to disperse the funds directly to the recipient instead of them having to come to the city of Kalamazoo, be essentially accepted as a gift, right, and then dispersed from the city of Kalamazoo. This gives us a lot of flexibility in giving, and I think that that's huge. So we can't say thank you enough to Pam and Carla for I think thinking about the way that, well, you were very instrumental as well, but thinking about the ways that we could do this, especially when we were met with that hurdle. The questions that I think we'll still need to navigate and that we can certainly navigate offline are how does this look for how will this look for the funding of our own operational expenses? And I'm not sure what that means. Do they still need to come to the city, or what does the dispersal look like on that end? I don't know. Yep. Okay, so that's what I thought. So we'll still have to operate the same way with that. So maybe we'll still have some placeholder funds, you know, in the city account, but it won't be the $24,000 that we have right now. This is really it's been a while in the making, I think. You know, the last time that I remember looking at it and we had some deadlines that didn't come through all the way was like October, I think, of last year. It's crazy to think that we're almost coming up on a year to then. I know we're still a couple of months out, right, 3 months out, but really awesome to see that we got this taken care of. Can't express what a big deal it is.
Looking over this information, and I believe what you're talking about would be relevant to our mini grant, our mini gift, mini grant. I'm gonna use the wrong words. Don't yell at me, Pam. I don't see it on the budget yet, so do we have a time frame when that might happen? Unless I totally missed it in the tiny print for my older eyes, but I didn't see that amount reflected yet.
Dusty's just saying that the 2,500 approved last meeting for the Friends of Kalamazoo Historic Cemeteries is not listed as an encumbrance on the report. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. I'm assuming knowledge. I should not do that.
So just something else to keep in mind, that there's something else already committed.
So, yeah, we have to make sure that we're very clear when we're speaking about money in general. So just for my own clarification, you're saying that on Pam's report, the $35,000 that she listed as encumbrances does not include the $2,500 that we've encumbered towards Gary, is that correct?
I see an anticipated for mini grants of 5,000. I just didn't see anything listed anywhere about the decision from last month or that being dispersed yet. So I didn't see it reflected on the budget. Maybe I wouldn't see it there.
So that's the big distinction that I'm trying to make. You would not see that on the budget reports. So
Okay.
I just want to make sure that we don't have confusion when we speak of those things, that would not be, especially under the way that we're doing it now. I guess it could have been technically before. The money has nothing to do with the city of Kalamazoo. It will not come through the city of Kalamazoo, and that budget is the city coffers.
Okay.
So it'll be dispersed directly from the Kalamazoo Community Foundation to the nonprofit, in this case, Gary's nonprofit for cemeteries, Friends of Kalamazoo Historic Cemeteries. I hope I got the
Sure.
But I think then when we're looking at it, we could say that it is actually reflected underneath the list that Pam gave as half of the $5,000 that we've encumbered towards the $35,000, is the way that I would think about it if I was you. We
Okay.
have not dispersed those funds yet, as we were waiting because we knew that this change was coming. Frankly, I don't know, you wouldn't really, you would see it reflected in the numbers that Pam gives to us each month. Yes. Yes, I think the question is not so much, well, A, has it been dispersed? The answer is no. But then the second is how would we know? You'll just see the numbers would be different on the last page of Pam's report. We have the spendable amounts, so you would see it 2,500 less from one of those.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
I did see the other ones were spelled out what they went to, so I wasn't sure where to look, so thank you.
I think the important thing, though, that I really want to continue to impress is that does not mean that they've been spent. And we do have it stipulated that $5,000 have been encumbered for mini grants. So I would not get hung up on the fact that you're maybe not seeing it spelled out, because this has no direct connection to the way that the money's being spent. This is just a PDF. So just keep in your mind to know that when you see those numbers change, technically that's just on a PDF too, but Pam does a good job of updating those. When you see those numbers go down, that's when you'll know, okay, when it's less than 2,500, that it's gone to the FKHC.
Okay. I appreciate the clarification, and I don't mean to muddy.
No, you're not at all.
This is all pretty new to me too, so.
Yeah, we spent a long time wading out of the muddy waters, so the reminders are good. Other questions in general about Pam's report? If there's no questions, that's always really good, I think, right? It means it's just perfectly written, and there is a lot that's in here. We have quite a few motions that are listed out, not only in Pam's report, but then in my agenda report, I kind of put them into 1, 2, 3, and 4, yes. Different motions. So I'm going to echo Pam's question again. Was there any questions about what was decided regarding the grant-making subcommittees recommendation to give money to Disability Network for the elevator, and then so, I mean, that's one of the motions, but then I also wanted to know if there's any other questions about the report in general or any of the other 3 motions.
Yes, but I want to clarify before I say it that, again, if these sound like very naive questions, it is that I am new to this kind of thing. I was a little, I guess one of my questions was for Kyle being, which I think is a great choice, for him to be on the new chair, but that's going to extend past his current term on this committee. So is that a conflict?
Subcommittee members do not have to be sitting commissioners.
Okay, thank you.
That's such an easy one. Any other questions from folks?
So when you roll off, who on the commission will be on the subcommittee? Will it just be me? Unless we change something. There's no other sitting commissioners that are on the committee right now.
Kayla is.
Yeah, oh, Kayla is, oh, okay, I'm sorry, yep. Okay, never mind.
Yes.
Kayla acts as one of our pre-reviewers right now, and what my hope would be is that she'll roll in to act as a voting member of the subcommittee, and we'll find someone else to pre-review to get that experience. Just a thought, Mr. Potential Chair.
That's how I did it, so.
Okay, should we start with the first recommendation for the grant for the Disability Network?
Should it be someone on the subcommittee that does it?
I wasn't sure, could we, or does it have to be?
What?
We need a motion.
I would recommend a couple clarifications to the motion, not that you didn't write the motion well, but I would probably some extraneous information on the beginning, the front half of that, that does not necessarily need to be in it. I think that people need to dictate, just for the sake of the record, which account we wish this to come from, even though we know sometimes I don't remember in the moment. So it's really helpful to be able to go back and look at the record. And then just really leaning heavy into the fact that per the recommendation of the granting subcommittee, the Historic Preservation Commission wishes to award the amount of money. And then you can add what Pam said at the end about asking me to communicate with the awardee and prepare and share all related award documentation within the coming calendar month. It's a lot to throw at folks, but if we want help going through the motion, this is just the one that really deals with the disbursement, and I just want it to be buttoned up appropriately. Apologies. Sorry.
Well, just a quick question. So does it matter if people on the subcommittee are making the motion or not? Is that okay?
Yes, 100%.
I move that per the recommendation of the grant-making subcommittee, we make a grant from O'Connor Fund 1
Yes.
of $10,000 to the Disability Network of Southwest Michigan for their elevator machinery repair project as outlined in their application. And we ask Luis to communicate with the awardee, prepare and share all related award documentation within the coming calendar month. Did I miss anything?
No, sounds good to me.
It is 02. Yep.
Okay.
I amend my motion to O'Connor Fund 02.
Is that okay if we stipulate the correct one? Okay. It's very helpful for me to go back. Yes, sorry.
Louis specifically requested
Yes.
that it be on the record.
And I'll talk with, I'm sure, Pam before I actually pulled the trigger on it and stuff too. But thank you, and thank you for the note there. So O'Connor too.
I will second that.
All right, and we will need two roll call vote. So Kayla,
Yes.
Fred,
Yes.
Nora,
Yes.
Kyle,
Yes.
Dusty, Melissa,
Yes.
and I am in a yes as well.
There we go. So congratulations to Disability Network of Southwest Michigan for the grant for that. It seems like that's going to make a really big impact, I think, on everything for them, right? To be able to have that elevator working was a really big deal for them, and I think a requirement for them. So really glad that we could step in to assist and make sure that the elevator stays working. They don't just need to have an elevator, they need to have a working elevator, I think is a very important distinction to make. So glad we could step in and help with that. Also glad that we could continue kind of our streak of non-traditional preservation. That's also a really big deal to me, that we did work outside of a historic district on a project that does not really fit in perhaps the traditional mold of preservation. So wonderful.
All right. On to item 2, recommendation 2.
For probably all these motions where it starts with the competitive grant-making subcommittee, I would just say per the recommendation of the competitive grant-making subcommittee, and then you could probably read them off word for word here on out.
Per the recommendation by the competitive grant-making subcommittee, I move that the KHPC appoints Kyle Hibbard as chair of the subcommittee, and that Patrick Vale be appointed temporary interim chair in the case that Kyle can no longer serve until a new permanent chair is installed, effective immediately.
A second?
A second.
And we can voice vote this?
Yes.
Voice vote? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? That passes. Recommendation number 3, raising the top end of the competitive grant program from $10,000 to $15,000.
Assume there's been much discussion regarding this. I'm sure that you've looked at it, Patrick.
I have not seen this.
Okay.
Outside of seeing this here.
Yes.
I've not been a part of any discussion around this.
Do the numbers seem that they would make sense to you, and that are we setting ourselves up for success still, do you think?
Yeah, I think so. I think given the significant donation that we had earlier this year, that definitely fits within the parameters of what we might expect to. The increase is within, I think it's safe.
Sweet.
Yes.
Not that I doubt anyone, I just want to get it on the record, so. 100%, I agree. Sweet.
Absolutely.
Per the recommendation of the competitive grant-making subcommittee, I move that we increase the available grant funding from $10,000 to $15,000 for the 2027 year and continuing forward until otherwise changed.
I'll second.
All right.
Get a roll call for this one.
Okay. Kayla?
Yes.
Fred?
Yes.
Nora?
Yes.
Kyle?
Yes.
Dusty?
Yes.
Melissa?
Yes.
And I say yes as well.
good.
All right. And recommendation number 4, hiring a consultant for pre-review of draft applications.
Is there any questions about this one? Do folks understand?
Is there someone in mind for this role?
No. MHPN has a directory, though, that we can certainly look through, just so we retain, and there's also a Michigan SHPO list, but just so we retain our impartiality, I think that would be very good to consult that list. And per the motion as written by Pam, I don't know if there'd be wiggle room to expand it from just the Michigan SHPO list to include MHPN list, but whatever we want to do.
I wasn't aware that MHPN had this.
Yeah, they make a directory every year that lays out these things, so, yep.
I don't know at what level that directory is headed.
Yeah. I just know that one is made by a government and one is not.
Well, but I think the vetting process there is whether or not they have the money to pay to be included in the directory.
When you're looking at a governmental made list, they can't make recommendations about folks. So I guess like the level of both of them is just, do you meet requirements on paper and or have you completed projects in the past? I'm not sure. I'll look to you a little bit, but I think that the level of vetting for both of them becomes very interesting when you're looking at these lists, right? A government can't endorse people, so I can't, like when I'm putting together a list, it's not an endorsement in any capacity.
But is the directory an endorsement?
No, but it puts them on almost equal footing, in my opinion. The directory is from a nonprofit, not a governmental body, so they are allowed. Technically, they could make endorsements of folks. Yes.
So how is that the government?
Because they have to put together the list.
They are, well, I think there's a requirement for federal obligation.
I'm just saying that it is not something that is holy and sacred just because you're on a list that someone has put together. That is not meant to disparage SHPO in any capacity. No, I understand. Yeah. Go for it, yes.
It seems to me that if you don't use the list, or you expand, you broaden the pool of potential applicants to fill that kind of a job, it makes the job of hiring someone more difficult, because then you have to vet that individual, wherein the SHPO has already done the vetting for their qualified list.
I think that they have. Sure. We can leave it at that, I guess. Yeah. I don't know how to proceed to say anything else without what I've said.
It can change later
Okay. Yeah.
if you think about it more, and there's,
I'm thinking about it a lot right now. I don't know how else to say it. What I want to say. So if we want to make sure that we just keep it at the Michigan SHPO list because we think that the vetting process is superior in some capacity than the list that is being produced by MHPN.
Oh, it definitely is.
Okay.
I know a lot of the purveyors. Now, there are people that are on both lists that are vetted by the SHPO, but there are a lot of people and companies that aren't. So,
Okay.
but their list is based on who can pay to be included.
The MHPN, you mean, Pam?
Yeah, the MHPN list. Thank you, sorry.
Is $2,000 enough for this?
We thought so because it would either just be like half a day.
I'm thinking about what's the scale of work here? Like, how long would we expect somebody to take to do the work?
When we discussed it in the subcommittee meeting, we talked about having that person come to Kalamazoo if they're not already here for a day or a half a day. I, in my own head, envisioned that they would call for an appointment, and, somebody would, whoever the consultant was, would give them 15 or 20 minutes and review their proposal and tell them what needs to be fixed if they want to have a proposal that would be seriously entertained by the committee.
Yeah, and we'll probably
It is-
iron out the timing kinks later about when it happens in the process. And I don't know if that has any bearing on this. If we're imagining in our heads, and if we're saying a half a day, so we'll call it 4 hours plus travel, they're going to be here for 4 hours, right? If we're imagining that it'll take 15 to 20 minutes, realistically, we can probably say that it's going to take half an hour to 45 minutes. We had 7 applicants last time.
So half hour per
It's-
applicant.
Yeah, it's a guess, but
But I
that's
think
kind
it's
of all we can do right
Reasonable,
now.
I think.
Okay. I'm thinking like travel, just mileage. Mileage, you've got a radius of maybe 250 miles that you could reasonably expect.
Yeah.
So that's at 50 cents a mile, but what's higher than that now, that's $250 off of this. And I didn't know what the professional rate is for somebody with this kind of qualification.
Call it like 100 an hour,
100 an hour. Okay. All right.
probably.
I can think of 2 people right off the top of my head that would qualify that are next door in Battle Creek. Just
Sure.
as an example, there are some folks in Grand Rapids, so.
Okay.
I was wondering if, to avoid some of the questions about lists, which I know we just discussed, can we just eliminate that part and just have the consultant must be someone whose qualifications meet or exceed?
I understand the want for there to be a reference to a list because these lists,
Okay.
Code of Federal Regulations, like CFR, I'm guessing. I know that the SHPO one is tied to them, like the historic preservation portion of that list. So I'm guessing that we should keep that reference in some way.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions on this?
Per your concern about the money, should we put verbiage in that that amount may change in the future? Is that overthinking this portion?
We can change the amount in the future.
Right. Well, like the last one we just did, we said, or one of the ones previously, we did say that that amount may change in upcoming years. Do we need to specify that it could be changed, or is that just understood?
If you're making a motion that does not have a time frame, it's a one-time expenditure. Since Kyle stipulated in the motion for 3 that it's beginning in 2027 and continuing indefinitely, that builds in the time frame for that one. So we need to remake this motion next year, at which time we could consider a different amount of money if we needed to.
Okay, thank you.
Like a trial run.
Yes, like a trial run.
All right. Somebody like to put forth the motion?
See if I get this right. Per the recommendation of the competitive grant-making subcommittee, we recommend hiring a qualified consultant for a half or full day to take appointments with applicants that wish to review their drafted application before submittal, not fewer than 3 weeks before the submittal deadline. That consultant must be selected from the Michigan SHPO's list of people whose qualifications meet or exceed professional qualifications for historical, architect, historian, I was doing so good, historian archaeologist, historian and consultant list, and who work regularly with people and organizations whose projects must meet the Secretary of Interior standards for the treatment of historic properties for buildings. The cost of this service should not exceed $2,000, including time and travel.
I second.
Should we amend to indicate which account this is coming from?
If you wish.
I would like to amend my motion to specify this comes from O'Connor Fund 2. I was hoping that was right. Okay.
We have a second on the amendment?
I second.
Okay. We'll roll call this. Kayla?
Yes.
Fred?
Yes.
Nora?
Yes.
Kyle?
Yes.
Dusty?
Yes.
Melissa?
Yes.
And I say yes as well. Okay.
All four passed.
Yes.
We had probably the longest conversation about that particular item for your vote tonight of any of them, I think. It was really tough. We were faced with a situation where we had, of the pool of applications that we had, a very small number were eligible for us to consider, or they were incomplete. And coincidentally, I've had a bug, earworm, whatever you call it, in my head ever since then. And I've taken it up with conversation with a couple of other people who have had experience making grant awards. Apparently, we're not the only ones out there that this has happened to. There were comments that people don't read the instructions, that people don't read the materials that are provided, that they're in a hurry, and I'm not sure we know how to fix that except to go to what I consider is now a pretty extraordinary measure to try to help them figure it out. I do know that there are organizations in this city and many other cities that do not have professional grant writing experience. They don't have a volunteer who can do it for them, and they still need the help. And we want to be able to do that. So thank you for approving this one.
I think it counts as part of our education for the public, right? And I would also like to comment that even among our subcommittee, we couldn't agree about which projects met the standards necessarily. So it's a big ask of the public to decide that. And honestly, I don't know if it's a valid question on the application, because it's kind of in our hands to decide as those approving, but it's something else to think about.
Always things to think about. I think that the codification just really makes it easier for us at the end of the day, because we got to grade them something. So we could continue to wallow in gray areas, but giving them at least, whether it be binary or assigning it to some other numeric value, helps us put our thoughts down on paper, right? Looking at the Secretary of the Interior standards, though, we could certainly make the argument yes or no makes it feel a lot more final. For some reason, the 0 and a 1 makes it seem less final, but the binary nature of that must exist just naturally because it is a yes or no. The project does conform to the Secretary of the Interior standards or it does not. I don't believe that there are shades of gray that are involved with that, which is what some of these came down to. I think we did a great job this year. The subcommittee, I think, did a wonderful job, and I always appreciate them coming out, volunteering their time, not only on the day that we reviewed them, but their time previous as well of reading through the grant applications. And I also want to extend thanks to all of the people who did apply. We'll be sending out letters. We'll be in communication with you. If you're watching right now on the TV or your computer, whatever you want to call it, I want people to know and to be please rest assured that just because you did not get money this year does not mean that we don't support your project in any capacity. Generally, what it came down to is that we just felt that there was incompleteness in the application, there was a lack of clarity in the application, or there was not a clear demonstration that the Secretary of the Interior standards were met. Pam's report also spoke to the fact that this is the first year that we tried out having this grace period where they were reviewed first by Kayla and I. They were given a preliminary grade. I reached back out one time to applicants to try to get some more information where we thought that there was a lack of clarity. The one time was, again, to retain impartiality, and then the answers that were given the second time were included with the grant applications that were then distributed to the entire subgranting committee. Excuse me, the granting subcommittee, excuse me. Well, I do think that that was, I guess it doesn't really matter. The thing that we're learning, and it's a worthwhile exercise. I think that that is a very worthwhile exercise to ask for the additional information. We're learning each year, just as well as the applicants are learning each year, right? We're learning what it looks like to give grants. We're learning what it looks like to have the additional clarity that is needed. I think we're learning that we're getting into grounds now, perhaps where we're asking for more and more detailed information because the projects maybe are getting more and more detailed. I think we're learning how niche of a field this is as well. Each time that we go out and ask for things, right? And we're asking those niche standards to be met to be able to give the money out, which I don't think is an extraordinary ask, being this is the Historic Preservation Commission and we're looking to fund projects that align with the missions of historic preservation. Going above and beyond by retaining someone to come and help, I think it just continues to speak to the level of dedication that we have to this community, the level of dedication that we have to giving money away, that we're willing to spend more money to make sure that we can give the money away. And I don't say that to be glib. I say that because, and I will continue to harp on it, we want to give the money away. We want to be able to enable these groups that are smaller, that might not have the grant writing experience, to be able to come in and not only walk away with a nice grant application for the historic preservation grant, but also to be able to walk away with some knowledge so maybe they could take that to other grant writing opportunities as well. I don't think that that's out of the box to say that, right? It's just the application of the knowledge that they get when they come into that opportunity. Raising that ceiling on the fund also shows that we want to give away more money, and that was another thing that I think we discussed as well. But hopefully it helps next year to have more help for the community. We'll see.
Okay, on to the coordinators report.
I don't have a lot. Didn't write one. So maybe that speaks, just right there. Really glad, like Pam was saying earlier, that we got all this stuff figured out with the O'Connor Fund, which I already spoke about. Again, as we continue with this, I can't remember if you put it in the report as well or not, Pam, about some of the other outstanding grants that we have right now with like KNAC, for example. I'll reach out and talk to Matt because we need to button up some of those things about the timeline. Yeah, I know, and I need to button up some of those things because there's some wiggle room that we need to identify and figure out where that is going to be granted or not going to be granted, I think, to understand just the timeframes and everything. So it sounds like it's coming along well there, and there's a lot of moving parts. Again, not to sound like a broken record, but I think that we're starting to get into the territory, and we're going to be learning about this, that we're getting into things probably now where we're expanding the scope and we're looking at projects like this that's getting out of just preservation by itself, but you're looking at building systems, you're looking at bigger project scope things that maybe we didn't envision when we started the grant program that we're going to need to be considering as we continue to move forward with it, such as how do you coordinate with adjacent property owners, how do you coordinate to make sure that you can do the work in a timely manner, do we need to make allowance for those timeframes in the grant program. Very glad that you guys heard and recommended the appointment of Dan Kasner as well. I think that what he said is really very powerful and is something that we need to look at, and that is the intersectionality between the two commissions, right? While we spoke to like the letter and stuff, what Dan was really looking at is that both of you guys are so insulated from each other. I think that Dan is piercing the veil now, coming from the HDC to this board. What Dan is speaking about is when people come to the commission and they say like, hey, I have to do this work. Why do I have to do this work? He was just as insulated from you as you guys are from him. So he's coming to this board, and technically this was the board that made all of the historic districts at some point. So making sure that we can try to bridge that gap, and this being the educational board as well, I think is a really great goal for him to just even bring up. So I'm very excited to see what that is gonna turn into as well. Don't think I have anything else at this point, but very excited about the grants. Hopefully this makes a big difference for the elevator over at Disability Network.
All right. Commissioner comments.
With this being my last meeting, I just wanted to say a few words to everybody. I should stop turning my head to make eye contact because I'm losing the mic. But thank you all for being so fun to collaborate with the last couple of years that I've been working here, serving on the commission. It's been really enjoyable, and it's been nice to get to know all of you. And yeah, I'm sad to be leaving, but I look forward to contributing to the out-of-state viewing on YouTube. So I'll keep in touch, but thanks.
Thank you. It was enjoyable to work with you as well. And congratulations on your new opportunities.
I wanted to comment that although it is not a part of what we work on this commission, we did have the Association of Gravestone Studies did come through on Wednesday through Battle Creek, Powwow, and then Kalamazoo. Everybody loved Kalamazoo. We had some great feedback. We had some nice press coverage of that historic property, and the people running around the rain to look at everything they could in an hour. Luis did come and speak for us, which was really appreciated. Thank you for that support. As a point of pride, I want to say that I was told that they got maybe more of a reaction in this part of Michigan than more supportive reactions than we on the other parts that we did on tours. So just our history is great. We had people from all over the country really appreciate that history. So pretty excited about that. And Kyle did poke me. I did also do a small presentation at that conference just about the reinterment. So thank you for helping me with some of those factoids. I really appreciate that. Yeah, it was a really exciting experience. So, and I should say that I forgot, the Friends of Kalamazoo Historic Cemeteries is having an event this Saturday at 9:30 in Mountain Home as part of their monthly cleaning and preservation.
Anybody else?
Yeah, this isn't quite related, but I just wanted to let everyone know that the Gun Lake Tribe's annual powwow is happening this weekend, July 11th and 12th. It's open to the public, so yeah, feel free to stop by. I'll send you guys the flyer with the information, but essentially it's near the Gun Lake government campus, but not like right there. It's at a property called Cheechak Camp. And yeah, it's pretty cool. On Saturday, the grand entry, so that's when everything starts and everybody's entering and all the dancers and whatnot. So that starts at 1 p.m. And then there's an evening grand entry at 5. No, that's the feast. You're welcome to the feast. I want to say 7. But then Sunday, there's also another grand entry at 1. Oh, yeah. So just during both days, there's a lot of different dances. Yeah, a lot of different kinds, and it's really nice because the MCs will be describing everything that's happening. There are opportunities where like the public can go in and join the dancing. Like you don't have to be in regalia to do it, and there's just like a lot of fun interactive stuff. So there are covered seating areas that you kind of got to get there early to get it, but there's also uncovered areas where you can just like bring, a blanket, your camping chairs, you can bring your own food, that kind of thing. But it's mostly, just like the dancing and just like interactive stuff. So, and there's going to be vendors too. So like I said, it's free, but if you want to get some cool stuff, whoops, sorry guys. Cash is good. And there are a few like food vendors too. So like with, like kind of like more Native American foods. So yeah, should be a good time. So a lot of, yeah, there are artists that kind of come as vendors. And so like, yeah, there's a lot of like basket makers. You'll see like other types of crafts too. So yeah, yeah, it's really cool. Yeah, hope to see you guys out there. It's really fun because there's like a lot of different, you know, like I said, but there's like even like tiny tots, like little kid dances. There's, I think, it might be too hot, but in the winter they do like, you know, the dinosaur costume dances. So there's just kind of different things, but yeah, should be fun.
Anybody else? All right, that's it for this week. We'll see you all in August.